Well, now, a bit earlier on this programme, the former Prime Minister Tony Blair told me the country needs an opposition capable of holding the government to account. Well, it's after a week in which nearly all of Jeremy Corbyn's front-bench team resigned. Pressure for the Labour leader to stand down has almost reached boiling point, but Mr Corbyn has insisted this morning he will stand in any leadership challenge. I'm joined now by the Shadow Chancellor, John McDonnell, and a very good morning to you, Mr McDonnell. We're also hearing from Jeremy Corbyn and presumably from you. You're going to reach out to those Labour MPs that oppose his leadership, but what form will that take?
Well, it's interesting. There's been a new initiative this morning by Len McCluskey, the General Secretary of Unite. He suggested that the unions, the affiliated unions of the Labour Party, try to mediate an agreement now between the Parliamentary Labour Party and Jeremy, and in that way calm the situation down, because we feel that if we can just calm things down a bit and get some rational discussion going, we can find a way forward that unites the party. But I think it's a great initiative. We should try it.
But do you take on board that Tony Blair point? I know there's an awful lot you don't take on board from Tony Blair, but the country almost needs a functioning opposition in these troubled times, and you're not it.
Well, that's why I think I'm asking people, and I have done for the last few days, because to be frank, after the European referendum result, there seems to have been a sort of a mass hysteria in Parliament, in all the political parties, as far as I can see, Conservative and Labour. And I'm just saying to people, just calm down now. And what we should do is have a proper discussion about a way forward. And people should recognise their responsibilities as MPs, particularly in the Parliamentary Labour Party, to launch that opposition, to form that opposition against the Conservative government. Not just opposition for opposition's sake, testing the government's ideas about what happens now after the European referendum result, working constructively with the government wherever we can, but making sure we put the country's interests at our heart. At the moment, there seems to be more interest in what the future of the party than there is in the country. I think that both things are important, but the most important responsibility we have is to the country.
How on earth can the leader start reaching out in all ways, to the public, even to his own MPs, when we hear you and others are more or less keeping him under house arrest? You're not allowing him to meet even with the deputy leader.
I know, I've heard these stories. This is becoming farcical. Only last week, some elements of the coup plotters were briefing the media that I was trying to supplant Jeremy. I was launching a coup against Jeremy. This week, the story is I'm forcing him to stay out. Both can't be right, neither are right. It just shows you the sort of febrile atmosphere there is at the moment within politics. And I just come back to the serious point. I think people should calm down now. Think about, yes, the future of our party, but more importantly, think about the future of our country. In that way, I think as MPs, we've got to do our jobs. And that means, yes, in the Labour Party, making sure we have an effective opposition, working together, but also, where necessary, yes, working on a bipartisan basis with the government too, because we're facing some serious economic difficulties now as a result of the Brexit vote.
But just on that, to scotch that rumour, this idea that the deputy leader, Tom Watson, isn't being allowed one-on-one in a room with Jeremy Corbyn. Can you say to me right now, you'll give Tom and Jeremy a call and put them together today to have a free and frank discussion?
Well, it's not for me to do that, but I know that Jeremy is meeting any individual MP that wants to come and see him. That includes Tom, but he's been doing that, well, all through the last 9 months. He's had an open-door policy. He's seen more members of the Parliamentary Labour Party, I think, than any other leader of the Labour Party, and he'll continue to do that, and he's made that offer time and time again. Look, the whole point about Jeremy Corbyn is he's a different type of leader. He's not the sort of Tony Blair type leader. And I'm glad, actually, because you then don't go into mistakes like Iraq. What he is he's a caring, compassionate person who tries to bring people together. He wants to resolve conflicts and prevent conflicts. He wants to mediate with people. But don't underestimate, he is a leader. He's got a steel about him that once he's made his mind up, he will stick to that decision. And that's what he's doing at the moment, because he respects the mandate that he got only 9 months ago from an overwhelming majority of our party members. And it is them, under our constitution, who decide who the leader is.
OK, well, that's the difference you're telling me between the perception and the reality of Jeremy Corbyn. But what about you and your role behind the scenes there? You know, I just had Heidi Alexander on the programme, the former Shadow Health Secretary, and she's saying you're kind of a smiling, benign puppet master. Yeah, I put words in her mouth, but that Mr Corbyn defers to you. He has to go through John McDonnell. She said you couldn't get any decisions from him.
Oh, this is... I'm really disappointed at that. I really like Heidi. I just have nothing but time for her. But I'm really disappointed in that. Jeremy and I have worked together for nearly 40 years. He's my closest friend in politics. He's that caring, compassionate politician that makes him so attractive and to so many people, a different type of politician. That's why I admire him so much. He is his own man, he makes his own decisions, full stop. He is the leader, and as a result of that, I follow him. I just try and do my best. What they've tried to do is divide and rule, and these rumours and gossip about myself, I find, well, to be honest, it brings politics into the gutter, and I'm not getting into that. If there's differences of policy, let's hammer that out and have a proper discussion. If it's issues around the issue around electability, let's have that discussion as well. But I tell you, all the facts point towards, on policy, Jeremy is taking us where the British people want to go. And in terms of electability, on his election record so far, he's been an incredibly successful leader, both in terms of parliamentary by-elections, mayoral elections and local council elections. So let's have a rational debate rather than all this gossip and snide talk like this. I don't like that. That isn't what I went to politics about.
All right. But just be explicit for us, Shadow Chancellor, because we've got the velvet glove being the reaching out going on, but there's a hand of steel underneath the glove, isn't there? Because let's just hear it explicitly from you. If challenged, Mr Corbyn will stand in another leadership election.
Yes. Yes, we're trying to say there's no need for a leadership election. Let's take up Len McCluskey's and the union's offer to mediate and resolve this amicably. But yes, if there is a leadership election, Jeremy will stand. I will be supporting him. I chair his campaign committee. I've offered him to do that. And we'll have a democratic debate. But what I'm also saying, it must be amicable. It must be about the policies and all the issues, but do it on a friendly basis. Last year's leadership election, all the candidates got on pretty well together. We call ourselves comrades in the Labour Party. I know it sounds a bit old-fashioned, but it's to mark out that we're campaigning together and we do it as friends. And I think that's the style we've got to go forward. That's Jeremy's style, to be honest. Above all else, that's the sort of approach he has to politics.
Well, you don't seem to be calling everyone comrades in the Labour Party. Your former leader, Tony Blair, apparently Mr Corbyn and you are waiting for the Chilcot report to come out on Wednesday, and you apparently are going to crucify him for being a war criminal.
I've never said that. I've said all the way through in the last few weeks, we've got to wait for Chilcot. What I have been saying, actually, it's more important that we look at the processes that led up to the Iraq war rather than any individual role or responsibility, because I want to make sure that we put the processes in place so that we never, ever make such a grave mistake again, because I think it was.
But do you think Mr Blair may have questions to answer in the International Criminal Court?
I want to see the Chilcot report. Nobody can comment on this until we see the report itself. And I'm hoping that the report will be thorough. And as I say, for me, the importance is not Tony Blair or any individuals. It's about the processes, so we never, ever get into this tragic mess again with such loss of life.
OK, Shadow Chancellor, thank you very much indeed. John McDonnell there.